And good afternoon. Welcome to another conversation at the table. I am Chad Bresson. I'm the lead pastor at the table of Los Fresnos. Hope you've had a great Monday. We're moving into Monday evening. It has been a very busy Monday, and I hope that you had a great weekend and you've had a fruitful first day of the work week. How's your week started off? Things have been relatively quiet around here over the past 24 hours or so. No more cats, which is always, well, I shouldn't say no more cats. We still have the two we started off with in here. But the cats that were born in our yard, gone. So hopefully they've been, some family around here has decided they need cats. I haven't heard nothing's happened, so they're gone. Mom and the little ones all left, found someplace else to go. So that's a biggie. Right now, they've been replaced by butterflies, though. If you live in the Rio Grande Valley and you've been driving around, you know that we are in the middle of a migration and still ongoing, even right here in the yard while we're speaking. So butterflies and then the kiskadees. The kiskadees, again, their chirp is kind of obnoxious, but they're a beautiful bird to look at. But anyway, that's life. That's our wildlife here in Los Fresnos for the moment. We had a fantastic day at the table yesterday. Wow, that was exciting. Always good to be with God's people again and to worship around His Word, worship around His table. Get to hear concerns, things to be praying about through the rest of the week. Just an overall great day at the table. It is such an honor and a privilege to be serving here in Los Fresnos. And this week we have a couple of service opportunities. If you have been paying attention to our Facebook page here at the table, you have seen us post over the past 2 or 3 days a couple of opportunities. One just popping up in the last 48 hours. And that is an opportunity on Wednesday to serve Los Fresnos with fresh produce free. There's a delivery of fresh produce coming to Port Isabel. We are still in need of some pickups. So if you've got a pickup truck and you got the time in the middle of the day, it'd be great to hear from you. Let me know. We need at least 3 pickups, and then we're going to bring the produce back here to Los Fresnos. That takes place around 10:30. And we hope to be distributing the produce around noon here in Los Fresnos. A few weeks ago, we were able to do this with frozen chicken, had a great response. I know this is a time of uncertainty and angst, and this is an opportunity to serve people here in Los Fresnos in a meaningful way. So if you have the opportunity to do so, whether you can provide a pickup or whether you can help actually distribute the fruit, let me know. And it's not just fruit, by the way, it's fruits and vegetables, so it's produce. But let me know. Again, that's happening Wednesday morning, about around 10:30. We're picking it up, and noon is when we're hoping to deliver. And then on Saturday, the table has an opportunity to serve our neighbors by helping out with the 5K, the Run White and Blue, that happens annually in Rancho Viejo. Happening again. It's hard to believe it's been a year. But they're going to do it again. Socially distant, by the way. It's going to be kind of different this time around. But we have an opportunity to serve the runners there. So if you have the opportunity, you'd like to serve, we'd be interested in having you help out the table. By the way, we got t-shirts. We got brand new table t-shirts. Black this time. So if you don't have a black table t-shirt, show up either on Wednesday or on Saturday and we'll give you one. So it's always great to serve our neighbors. Yesterday we talked a little bit about service. It all flows out of what Jesus has done for us. And we're talking about, we began a series yesterday in Romans. Romans, a fantastic book. And some people spend their entire lifetimes studying the book of Romans. And so yesterday we began a series in Romans talking about our story in Romans, because Romans really is about what Jesus, again, has done for us in His life, His death, His resurrection, and then all of that coming to us in our baptism as we get there to Romans 6. And so that's what we were talking about yesterday in Romans 6, our baptism. Baptism is Paul's answer to the critics who claim that his view of justification by faith alone, by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, that view of justification and salvation somehow cheapens grace. And at one point, the critics are saying, "Well, should we just, increase our sins so that we get more grace?" Because Paul says grace is always greater than sin, and so should we just sin? He says no. And he's almost incredulous, and he says, look, why would we sin in order to get more grace? We died to sin in our baptism. And he says, don't you know that when we were baptized into Christ, we were baptized into his death? The old man has died. And then at the very end, again, talking about service, this frees us. You want to talk about works? This frees us for good works. And the interesting thing about baptism is God takes away the control. We want control of our destiny. We want control of not just ourselves, but other people and the way they behave and the way they talk. And God takes that completely out of our hands by saving us. And he does this through faith alone and Christ alone, by grace alone. And again, it's just fantastic. So Paul says all of this frees us. God brings it to us in our baptism, and it frees us for service. So that's his answer to those who think that Paul is cheapening grace, that he is claiming that if we just sin, there's always going to be grace, there's always going to be more grace. And he says, no. We died to sin in our baptism. Now, what's funny is, so we had this conversation yesterday at the table. It's, if you get a chance, the sermon is here on Facebook. What's funny is this afternoon, about halfway through the afternoon, I'm getting the munchies, I'm a little hungry, and so I go to the kitchen and I'm looking for the chocolate chip cookies, and I happen to know that they're on their last leg, that we're down to the last few. There aren't many left. And so I go to where the chocolate chip cookies should be, and they're not there. And I know who the culprit is. We have an 18-year-old Cookie Monster living at our house. And so as the Cookie Monster goes strolling through the office, I say, hey, whatever happened to those chocolate chip cookies? And the Cookie Monster answers, there weren't that many left. He does. And he cackles. He does. He cackles. There weren't that many left. And then he says, he knows this is going to get me. And then he says, plus, I knew that if I ate them all, you'd just give me grace. I don't think that's what Paul had in mind, but his critics certainly did. His critics have that view of Paul's view of justification by faith. And Paul points to baptism and says, hey, look, you died. Your baptism baptizes you into Jesus. It baptizes you into his death. We've died to sin. He's clapping back at that kind of thinking. He's saying, have you forgotten your baptism? The claim of cheap grace really doesn't take baptism all that seriously. It doesn't take Jesus seriously. It doesn't take the law seriously. And then, like I said earlier, the upshot is then we are absolutely free with good works to serve our neighbor. And this is what he brings up. Paul says this. We'll end up closing with this. Do not let sin reign in your mortal body so that you obey its desires. And do not offer any of your parts of it to sin as weapons for unrighteousness. So don't do that because you've died to sin. But as those who are alive from the dead, oh, by the way, that's the other side. Not only have you died to sin, you've also been baptized into his resurrection. You've been made alive in baptism. Offer yourselves to God and all the parts of yourselves to God as weapons for righteousness. And that is just a great way to put all of this. Weapons of righteousness. That's freedom. Freedom to offer everything you have to God as weapons of good works for your neighbor. That, by the way, sounds like a great group name sometime. Maybe we'll have on Facebook. Weapons of Good Works. Baptism weaponizes good works for our neighbor's best interests. That kind of good works weaponization is doing good works without any consideration as to ever getting anything back. No reciprocity. You do something good for your neighbor and you're not expecting any thanks. You're not expecting anything back. In fact, if you did, that wouldn't be grace. Those wouldn't be good works if you're expecting something in return. Good works are not about scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. No. No, weapons for righteousness. Weapons for good works for your neighbor. See, that's what God's baptism does for us. That's what God's salvation does for us. Grace alone, faith alone, Christ alone, for our neighbor. For our neighbor. It actually puts arms, legs, and feet to what has happened to us, and then we are moving toward our neighbor. And at some point, we're wanting our neighbor to be connected to that same free salvation that we have in Jesus. So that's what we're going to be doing on Wednesday and Saturday. Free produce on Wednesday, and then free help for the 5K runners on Saturday. That's the table being the table for Los Fresnos. And that is our conversation at the table for this Monday. Again, join us throughout the week. We'll have more conversations at the table. Join us Thursday on Zoom at noon. We will be taking a look at Romans chapter 6 in our Bible study. It's a great Bible study, just 1 hour. Spend part of your lunchtime with us. And that all starts at noon on Zoom. And if you message us, we'll send you the meeting ID and the password. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, stay healthy. Stay at home as much as possible and stay connected right here on Facebook. Remember, we are loved by Jesus for the love of Los Fresnos. Have a great Monday evening.